Hi, Charles SirBookSage here with another Winds of Winter sort of fan theory video. Today I want to talk about the theory surrounding Young Griff, who us book readers commonly finally refer to as Fagon. He believes that he is the actual Prince Aegon, the son of Prince Rhaegar and Princess Elia Martell. Most readers believe he's probably actually a Blackfyre, descendant of Targaryen bastards, being passed off as Aegon. Just quick background, in A Dance with Dragons, which is where Young Griff is introduced, Tyrion ends up traveling with Old Griff and Young Griff, who have this small group with them. And he begins to realize who Old Griff is, and that it's Jon Connington, a former Westerosi lord who was exiled after the Robert's Rebellion. He realizes that Young Griff believes that he is Aegon Targaryen. The point of this video here is I want to discuss three things in particular that Martin has in this story that could be possible foreshadowing events that support the theory that Young Griff really is Aegon Targaryen and not a suspected Blackfyre, a suspected descendant of Targaryen bastards. So the first one takes place in a clash of kings. Theon Greyjoy has taken Winterfell, and he's kind of backed up against the wall where he has to kill Bran and Rickon Stark to prove to his Ironborn men that he is indeed an Ironborn, that he has left the North behind, that he's left the Starks behind. But Bran and Rickon have escaped, so Theon kills two farmers' boys and passes their kind of mutilated bodies off as Bran and Rickon and displays them in Winterfell and proclaims this is Bran and Rickon dead and he's now the Lord of Winterfell. So we have a case where somebody else's dead body is passed off as the legitimate, noble person. So we already have it done there. That's one. And that isn't a direct correlation between the two, but it's similar. And maybe a direct correlation, but I'll get to that later. The second one actually takes place in A Dance with Dragons, the very same book we meet the supposed Aegon. Because the theory is that being presented is that somebody swapped out Aegon Targaryen with a different baby and secreted Aegon out of the city before Tywin and the Lannisters sacked it. And in the same book we meet Young Griff, Fagon, or Aegon, whichever. Jon Snow does a literal baby swap, like straight up baby swap. Stannis and Melisandre are convinced that Mance Rayder's child has king's blood, and even though Jon has tried to convince them that that's not how the free folk work, you don't inherit a throne or a crown, you have to earn it. So he's not a king's heir. They don't believe him, they don't care, they don't think that way. So Jon takes Gilly's baby with Craster and swaps it, gives it to Val, and takes Mance's child baby and gives it to Gilly for Gilly to pass that off as hers, and then sends Sam, Gilly, and Master Aemon to Old Town. So he literally swaps out one baby to protect the perceived royal baby, to ferret him away from danger. So George is like right on the nose, literally having Jon do the very thing that people are claiming was done for Aegon. And the third one, and it's responsible for what got me really thinking and revisiting Young Griff's character and wondering, is he really Aegon Targaryen, comes in the Dance with Dragons epilogue, which is Kevin Lannister as the POV. They're discussing, because they've heard that Jon Connington has returned, he's got an army, he's got someone claiming to be Aegon Targaryen. And Kevin has a small little passage in his chapter here, and I'm going to read it here. Kevin Lannister had been here, in this very hall, when Tywin had laid the bodies of Prince Rhaegar's children at the foot of the Iron Throne, wrapped up in crimson cloaks. The girl had been recognizably the Princess Rhaenys, but the boy, a faceless horror of bone and brain and gore, a few hanks of fair hair. None of us looked long. Tywin said it was Prince Aegon, and we took him at his word. So there we have Kevin Lannister remembering that day and revealing that the baby who was supposed to be Aegon was completely unrecognizable. They just took Tywin at his word. When Tywin sacked the city and then he came for Princess Elia and the two babies, did he realize that wasn't Aegon? And so he had the Mountain kill Aegon in that such brutal fashion to destroy the baby's head, to make him so there was no way you would know it wasn't. Because if you're thinking about it from Tywin's perspective, Tywin Lannister tried to marry Cersei off to Prince Rhaegar to make her the queen so that future kings would be Lannisters. That failed because Rhaegar rejected Cersei. So Tywin, in the end, sides with Robert and planning to, okay, Cersei is the cost of my aid, that you marry Cersei, marry my daughter. Because Tywin is adamant that the Lannisters will take this throne, and through his daughter is his path. Now, they've already lost the opportunity, I believe, to get Viserys and Daenerys, but there's no way he can leave Rhaegar Targaryen's son alive. There's no way, if he discovers that that's not Aegon, there's no way he can let that information out of that room. So he has, the Mountain's probably not going to go no one way or the other. So he has the baby killed in such brutal fashion to put to bed any whisper that that baby was secreted out. Because he knows that if it was, the people who got Aegon out of there aren't going to say anything. Because they know if word gets out that they really did secret Aegon out, then Robert would never rest and hunt them forever. And so Tywin knows that, okay, I'm going to keep that secret too. So this way my daughter can marry Robert and Lannisters can end up taking the throne later. So both Tywin and the people who secreted Aegon out are both willing to keep the secret for their own reasons, their own ambitions. Is that what these three things mean? Has Martin been laying the groundwork that, yes, this really is Aegon Targaryen? Or is this just Martin having fun and messing with the reader so that we start to really believe that it really is Aegon, just for him to pull the rug out from under the readers and Fagon as well, and then reveals that, no, he is, after all, just a Blackfyre. I kind of want him to really be Aegon Targaryen, because if you think about it, it makes the story that much more complicated. I mean, look at it from Daenerys' point of view. If, as it's pretty certain at this point, Jon Snow is the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, and if the books do mirror the show, in that Rhaegar did find a way to get his marriage to Elia either annulled or got a divorce and legitimately married Lyanna, making Jon a legitimate Targaryen, Jon is the rightful heir, Targaryen heir anyway, to the throne over Daenerys, because Jon is Rhaegar's son. Daenerys is just Rhaegar's sister. She would only become the heir if Rhaegar had no children left. If this really is Aegon, then he's the heir, even over Jon. So it's Aegon, Jon, and then Daenerys. And Daenerys is not going to bend her knee to anybody. So if this really is Aegon, that's your three heads of the dragon. And are we looking at a potential second Dance of the Dragons, a second Targaryen civil war being set up here? Now, as much as I would love that, I don't think that there's enough time in the story for that to happen. There just isn't enough real estate left. There's only 2 books left. And the odds that Daenerys is even going to get to Westeros before the Winds of Winter is over, I think are pretty slim. There may be a chance she might get there midway through the book or get there for the final act. But overall, it's going to be hard to move so many pieces quick enough to get her over there. So having only one final book to settle everything, I just don't see how you could squeeze a second Dance of the Dragons in there. Unless that's like the final act, which is where Daenerys finally breaks and then goes after either both Jon and Aegon, or who knows, they team up to take her out. And this is the beauty of the books. The show cut out so many characters, so many subplots. There's so many other things in play that we have no idea how what's going to end up going down is actually going to go down in the books. But just these 3 things alone, and particularly that realization from Kevin that the baby Aegon was completely unrecognizable, combined with Jon doing a literal baby swap and Theon making the conscious decision to pass off other people as the Starks, So did Tywin do the same thing here? Just stuff to think about. So I want to hear your theories down below. Do you think Young Griff really is Aegon Targaryen? Or do you think he really is a Blackfyre? And he was just a backup plan to a backup plan of Varys and Iliaro and all of them. Because there was Viserys, and then there was Daenerys, and then there's Young Griff. So do they just have multiple layered plans so that they'll end up with someone who's either a Targaryen or they can pass off as one back on the throne? So I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think about this. If you haven't read the books, go ahead, read them. There's so much more in the books. There's entire plot lines and characters that are just some of my favorites that the show just completely cut out. Anyway, that's just kind of my thoughts on it. I'm hoping he really is Aegon, but we'll see. Just let me know down in the comments what you think. I am Charles, SirBookSage. Happy reading.